Community Development Authority for June 6th, 3 p.m. to order. Roll call, starting on the right, please.
Oh, Cole here.
Asmussen here.
Dalton here.
Jumadi here. Certify the posting of the meeting.
I certify that on Wednesday, June 5th, 2024, the agenda for the Town of Rome Community Development Authority meeting for Thursday, June 6th, 2024 was posted at the following locations. Rome Town Hall, 8:55 a.m. Quick Trip LLC, 11:55 a.m. Nakusa Port Edward State Bank, 11:48 a.m. Posted on the Town of Rome website on June 5th and emailed to the Wisconsin Rapids Tribune on June 5th.
Thank you. Approve the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda. We need a second.
Yeah, second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jackie Cole, second by Colleen Asmussen for approval of the agenda as presented. Any discussion?
My only question was, because there's only 4 of 7, for number 5, are we gonna move forward with election of officers if we don't have a full?
That's a fair question. But we're missing Megan, so, and she's new, but it's up to you guys what you want to do.
I'm okay with it,
With keeping it, or?
moving forward.
Okay, that's fine.
What's the consensus? Okay. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, election of officers. Do we have a motion for chair? Do we have a motion for chair? Do we have a motion for chair?
Yes. Do we?
What's your motion?
I don't,
Oh, so then you would move to
Elect
elect
a chair.
somebody
chair.
as the chair of CDA committee. So if you have a motion, you have to say who that is. Who are you? Oh,
Yeah, okay, we have a motion. All right, do you have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion for Jackie Cole to be the chair of the CDA and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. So we have 1 yes, or 3 yeses, 1 nay.
we'll talk later.
Jackie, were you a yes?
Yes, I guess so. It's not gonna make a difference. So yeah, yes.
Well, it would, that's why.
Yeah, it
Oh,
would be,
would.
all right, yes.
Do we have a motion for vice chair? Do we have a motion for vice chair? Do we have a motion for vice chair? The position remains unfilled. So you can take over.
Great. Okay, thank you. So now we'll move on to number 6, citizen comments section. Do we have any citizen comments?
There were none received.
Okay, thank you. So we'll read the next paragraph. Well, there's no public here, so I'm gonna dispense with the next paragraph about, public on the agenda. So we'll move on to number 7, no action contemplated except possible referral to future agenda. We have reports. Park and Recreation. Does anyone have a report on Park or Recreation?
Yes, the Parks and Recs was presented with the new plan for the master park concept from MSA. There was to be eventually some community input along with the master court plan, and that'll should happen in the future. So we'll have to find some people to go ahead and move forward with that and have discussion on who that'll be.
Okay, then going forward, Lori, do you want to be the person that reports on Park and Recreation?
No, thank you.
Okay, is there anyone on the committee that's on the Park and Recreation Committee? On CDA that's on
No.
Park and Recreation Committee?
No.
Okay. Plan Commission, do we have a report on Plan Commission?
Yes, we've been moving forward with a number of different projects. I believe we have some more short-term rentals on the way. We have a final plat coming up for Sand Valley. Nick, you could probably add some things?
I can. If I may, I can give just a couple general points to Plan Commission and Planning and Zoning in general, if I may.
Yes.
So just first, maybe a general rundown of the upcoming Plan Commission meeting. We do have a Plan Commission meeting scheduled for next Tuesday. The agenda is posted, so if anybody has interest, they can go to the website and view the agenda. We do have a couple things, as was alluded to by CDA member Jamadi, that are coming. Those include a number of short-term rental applications. We have a final plat for Sedge Village North. We have a site plan of operation request, and we have an ordinance amendment that we are reviewing for sidewall height in the Lake District. So those items are on the next Plan Commission agenda. The other exciting announcement is that we do have a zoning administrator that's joining the town with a date of employment, or the first date is next Monday. So watch for an announcement there. I think is going to be coming. Really excited there, and we'll have a new face around.
Yep. Well-rounded background, a graduate from UWSP. Planning background. She has experience with engineering and the city of Wausau, working with the head engineer up there, as well as GIS, so she'll know mapping. Good addition to the staff.
And I think Attorney Flanagan worked on the interview process, so thank you for that. Anything else from Plan Commission? Okay, Rome Town Center, any updates on Rome Town Center?
Yes, we had the presentation at that last special meeting with Sam Schultz, which the town did plan to keep on tap as far as an advisor for land use and development in the Rome Town Center. He gave a very well-rounded presentation. Unfortunately, the recording didn't work for the beginning part of the meeting, but I did get some feedback to people that had listened to the presentation, and we got some good response on that. Moving forward with a zoning code audit rewrite. He'll work closely possibly with Tim Schwecke, who did the zoning hub onboarding of that platform. So they work together quite frequently in other communities. So in moving forward, that'll be very, very helpful for the town. He's got some well-rounded experience that we necessarily can't get in a person that we would hire here in the town. So he's really a very good, well-rounded asset, and I've been told that by other people who said we're very fortunate to have him on tap. So he'll probably be coming forward as well with some other recommendations and can assist us as we move forward with a code audit.
Okay, thank you. Sand Valley, I guess that one's me. Sand Valley, of course, is open for the season. The Sedge Golf Course, which is the newest addition at Sand Valley, will open officially to the public on July 1st. They're doing preview play there now. The Gallery Restaurant is the newest restaurant that is open to the public. Right now it's open for dinner, so you can go and enjoy that at 5 o'clock. And just as a reminder, all the restaurants at Sand Valley are open to the public, as are any walking trails, anything like that. Some of the Rome Town officials, department heads, are going on a tour at Sand Valley on June 12th to just see the new developments and to attend a little tasting there. So thank them for that, for inviting the town to come and keep track of what's happening. That's about it for Sand Valley. WEDC, Connect Communities. Has anyone looked at that? Are you familiar with that, Colleen and Heather? So we need to introduce you to WEDC. It's a place where you can get information about what's kind of happening across the state, I would say. And they have different topics, and you can look at it and see if something is of interest to you, what they might be doing in another municipality, another city, and read it and see if it might apply to what we're doing here, or spark some ideas for you of something we could do here. So we'll have to get you on board with that. I don't know who exactly is going to do that. Is that?
That's not the same thing you go to down in Adams.
No, this is something different. They often
No,
come-
you have to get a password and get invited to it.
They
So-
often have things up here. They had one just a couple of months ago in our area. They have things all around the state with different representatives. We have a regional manager in this area that's very helpful. They do the Main Street grant
Okay.
program,
Yep.
things like that, so they did a presentation for us a number of years ago. They're very actively involved. In fact, they've got something coming up with the Rural Partners Network, so I'll do that underneath informational updates. But there's also, if you go underneath, there's a link online, if you go under Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation Connect Communities, there's quite a bit of information under there that you can find, and there's a variety of programs that I had, well, we'll put it on our goals matrix, I guess you can do that, and then we can, look at the different financing and, networks that we could build up. I had brought it up that I think the Rome Business Alliance could do, much more than just basically get together and complain about the town. We could add, different groups and be more of a positive, or they could be more of a positive outlook for, businesses joined together. How can we help you? Are there loans out there, microloans, that sort of thing? And that's what this group is really about too, and how we can do things within our own community, so.
Do you have
Yes.
information or resources how to get them connected to that?
No,
No?
well, we can it can be found for them. Maybe we can do that through Taylor or,
I was going to ask, is just.
well, we can go through the regional
similar
manager too.
question.
Aaron Wolte can help with that.
I was going to ask if you get direct emails from them? 'Cause if
Yes,
you
I
do,
get them
then
from
we can
Aaron on a regular basis, yeah.
Connect and
We'll
slate out
connect with
our
Aaron or-
CDA to them, so they have all our emails
Yeah,
for
they
them.
can get it from Aaron. We'll get Aaron's
Okay.
and get them hooked up.
Thank you.
So then the idea is, once you're connected, you look at that periodically and then report back to us things that you think might be of interest. So, okay. Number 8, informational updates, meeting recaps, recent correspondence, current events, and announcements. We can start with Lori. Do you have anything on that?
Yes, just, the Rural Partners Network has a progress, through action workshop on next Thursday up in, Rothschild. Has to do with a lot of different things. It was starting out basically about housing, telecommunications, and it's expanded quite a bit, but the main focuses are on regional planning, housing and economic development, and, there was a third, but the main priority one that I was interested in is the housing. But we already had some things in the works. I was planning on bringing those things back, but we can turn those over. We had those 2 plans. You might still have the paperwork on them. The ones that we were interested in doing was Green Bay, I think, and Platteville, I think, was the other one. And now that Sam is working with us, he could help us determine how to best use that land that he talked about when he visited us last time during that special meeting, and what type of housing is appropriate, and then put those RFPs out. So this would be the type of workshop. It's free to anybody that's interested in going. All you need to do is go online. I can send you the link, and I'll send that out this afternoon before our other meeting starts, and you can get registered if you're interested. But it's from, I think, let's see if the time's on here. I'll have to find it. There's another invite, but it's through the USDA Rural Partners Network. And I know Adams County is actively involved in this, and they are doing another housing study, but it's really more for low to moderate income housing. So that's really more what their focus is versus what our needs and focuses are up here. We had done a number of housing studies. We paid quite a lot of money for them too a number of years ago, and they kept pointing to the same thing, which is what we need is workforce housing and 55 plus. So, and in our walkable community, that's still where our focus is. And that's kind of where we ended last year when we had meetings, and then we didn't have meetings because we didn't have a quorum. So, yeah, so we'll move forward with that one. But I'll send that link out to you.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, I was planning on attending, yes. There's still openings, that's why they sent it out.
Okay, Heather, any updates?
No, ma'am.
Anything going on at the brewery that we should know about?
Just it was great to see the community come out and support the couple events we had recently with, the first one being Visit Rome and the fundraiser for the K-9 for the police department. Really great turnout for that. And then last weekend, the, draft event,
Okay.
so.
And it rained, huh? Well, kind of rained.
It did, but it was still.
Still
nice
attended,
to see
okay.
everybody out.
And you're on summer hours and you have umbrellas. Okay.
Yes, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Okay. And Colleen, any updates, correspondence, anything you want to report? Okay. I guess I can just mention there is a ribbon cutting celebration for the band shell. And Southbound is the first concert at the band shell, and that's tomorrow. And so there will be food and beer starting at 5 o'clock. The ribbon cutting is at 6:15, and the concert is 6:30 to 8:30. And it seems there's a lot of interest in this, and so I hope you can attend, and those invited to the ribbon cutting, that you can go to the ribbon cutting. And then also Snow Bandits Classic Car and Snowmobile Show is next Saturday. That's Father's Day weekend, or pre-Father's Day weekend. 9 to 3, and that's in the Rome Town Center, and that is a very popular event, well attended, so we just have to cross fingers for good weather for that one. And if you're into classic cars or drinking beer and having a nice time, you can go to that one. Okay. I think that is it on that. We can move on. Discuss and possible action on the following items. Number 9, discussion and possible action. Approval of the April 4th, 2024 and May 15th, 2024 Community Development Authority meeting minutes, which you have in front of you. So do we have a motion for, to approve those?
Motion to approve?
Okay. Who made the first motion?
I did.
I didn't hear the second. Oh, Lori was the second? Okay, we have a motion by Heather Dalton, a second by Laura Giamatti to approve the minutes of April 4th and May, I should say them in the other order, or April 4th and May 14th, 2024. Okay. Number 10, discussion, oh, sorry. All right. We have a motion. Any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Okay, motion carried. Thank you, Nick. Number 10, discussion and possible action, CDA role and responsibilities. Just go to letter A, review of state statute 66.1335, Town Code Chapter 20-8, Town Resolutions and CDA bylaws. So, I didn't put this agenda together, so I don't know exactly what was intended to be discussed, so I'm gonna defer to Chairman Giamatti, because she put this together. Maybe you can help walk us through what you had in mind to discuss on this.
Well, normally in previous years and past, but looking forward, we have a lot of new members, and has been requests on here as well as Plan Commission to have a training session. And in looking at other towns, cities, and villages, they always usually do that in May or June. So we would like to get into the practice of doing that once again, as well as Von Briesen, our law firm that we use for reference, also goes through a number of training sessions, and we just attended a online webinar about onboarding board members. The county goes through that. Last year, I had set up a training for the town board. So we're gonna be looking at a board retreat as well. So we thought it would be good to get back to some basics now that we have a full committee again. So it's good to understand what our roles and responsibilities are, and then we can establish the proper, objectives for moving forward. So it was getting to the point that sometimes not only we had difficulty meeting, but then what do we do? So understanding that was taking us back to the beginning and how we were formed, why we were formed, and what are we supposed to be doing. And then starting basically at state stats, and Nick can, follow up and help us with this, which is why I asked him to be here with us, is that in state stats, there is quite a few more things that we could be doing around our community. And we were doing that for a number of years, and then there was a time where it was like, no, you just take care of the Rome Town Center. And that is true, we do that, but there are other things based in statute that we could do, such as blight, such as blight elimination, housing projects, which we do in the Rome Town Center, but that could be in other places. So just touching on a few of those things, there's other powers and duties that are listed, and granted you got it today, but it took a while just to get some of the other supporting documentations as far as our founding documentations, then town resolutions, and then the bylaws. We couldn't find the most recent bylaws, and then we did. So maybe, Nick, you could take it from there for me.
Sure, thank you. And thank you for I think Lori and Taylor both worked through getting some of the packet materials together, and I know that was a lot of work to put that together, because I remember some of that being done back in 2021 when I had last presented some of this information to the CDA. So certainly happy to present that again today, and what I'll do is just give you an overview of kind of when the CDA was formed, what the CDA's duties were, and then what happened in 2021. And then really I think the idea here is to then inspire your conversation with B and C to move into what you want your goals and short and long-term objectives to be, and also then filling out or at least revisiting the goals matrix, not necessarily rewriting it, but revisiting it, seeing if you want to add or change anything on it. So going back to kind of the inception, the CDA was established in 2006 by resolution. I believe you have that in your packet materials. That resolution was amended a couple different times, 2009 and 2014. 2014's amendment is what actually established some bylaws that then you also have in your materials. As Lori had referenced, those bylaws have been updated a couple times. The most recent update was an update that was done to write out the month that really the CDA would elect the slate of officers. May would make sense because that's when new terms. It used to be April, and so that made sense to make that update to it. Also to change some provisions in the secretary section. Prior to the amendment, there were duties that the zoning administrator had by position title in here, rather than have that as a position title be always the secretary. This allows the CDA to designate somebody to be their secretary and what their secretary's roles are. So that's what it did. That's what happened in the last amendment to the bylaws. But really, the CDA's authority is rooted in really three areas with this town, and actually with really any municipality other than if by chance you didn't have bylaws. But particularly with the town of Rome, it's going to be statute, bylaws, and ordinance. So as I said, you adopted bylaws in 2014 and have amended them since. The statute reference is actually folded in not by, I don't think, the specific section in your bylaws, but certainly it's referenced in the bylaws. But I'm going to start with the ordinance because I believe that's actually the top page in your packet. So 20-8 is the ordinance that establishes the CDA, and then just looking to powers, because that's really the thing that I'm going to keep touching on here. Under powers, the CDA has the duties, powers, and authority delegated under 661335. So 661335 is the section of state statute that references CDAs. Just maybe a general lead into that then ties it to CDA member Jamati's comments is when that provision of statute was put in, there was an idea or a mind to the idea that housing and redevelopment authorities, particularly with cities, existed, okay? And whether or not you needed to have a housing and redevelopment authority if you had a CDA in cities primarily. What the statute says is that the CDA has many of the powers and duties that had existed in housing and redevelopment authorities. Those are the powers and duties that Lori was mentioning. So things such as blight elimination, slum clearance, urban renewal, redevelopment programs. Those things are powers that the CDA can have, right? And so as we had looked back in 21 at, kind of filling out some of the goals and things that the CDA would be working on, we had mentioned that at that time, and I think as we had kind of fleshed that out, we didn't go full bore with all of those things, but I think we had, some tie-ins as the CDA had made those updates. But it is important to know that there is that that power and authority that the CDA has, and, you know, and there may be times where there's needs for that, and this body can really serve out that role, as it relates to those duties, with a slight caveat. That caveat is that where it relates to eminent domain, you have to go back to your bylaws. You do not have that power. That's specifically stated that the CDA does not have the powers of eminent domain. Also, there's a couple different things in specific actions taken that are specifically referenced in the bylaws that as subject to review and approval by the board. Now, as we know, there are other things that are not in these, in this list, such as sale of property, right? That comes as a recommendation, it goes to the board to actually approve any sale of property. But the two that are listed here are acquisition of land,
So which page are you actually looking at?
on the bylaws
So we
page,
can, okay,
bylaws page 1.
follow along.
So under section 2, general powers and duties,
Okay,
you have certain specific actions stated in these bylaws that are going to always be subject to review and approval by the board. Acquisition of land and issuance of debt. Other than conduit debt, which is supported anyway by the CDA or town of Rome, so that's out anyway. So what that's really saying and really leading up to is there is a, you know, an enhanced role that the CDA can play at times where it's appropriate. There are, you know, there is this idea that the CDA feeds to the board, right? Recommendations in some sense, and some of those pieces are going to be subject to review and approval. You know, the other really important piece to note here is the two that are listed there, acquisition of land. Well, as a town, that makes sense because you can't just buy land, right? You have to have certain elector authorization to do so. So this doesn't, you know, I mean, it makes sense to have that step in there, because if you decided that you wanted to purchase property, then we would go through the process after that recommendation would come in, if that makes sense. So, so some of these things make sense to have in there, but I think what this is really saying, and what is really worth noting here, is that there's an interplay, an obvious interplay between the CDA and the town board. A lot of recommendations go to the town board, but there's also a enhanced role that the CDA can play, you know, with certain housing developments and blight elimination if that were to come up. And so those are things to keep note of. Yeah.
Can I ask a question then? You know, going down to powers and duties within that same statute, I read further that, for clarification, that there are some things that we can actually help with the plan commission and with some of those duties. If you read under the other statutes under cities, because we are an urban town, almost like a city, but I mean, there are very similar to other duties. We can assist the plan commission with certain things.
You could, yep, and it's not, so it's not that you, that because you're an urban town, you have the city.
No,
It's-
right, that's,
it's
I don't
that
wanna
there's certain
confuse
provisions
that, I
just
don't wanna
so
confuse that.
So everybody up here is on the same page.
We're a
You know,
town, we're a town,
So
I
for
didn't mean to
example, we
confuse
have
it.
certain references by statute, into statute. Like, the plan commission references chapter 62.
Which is a
it's
city.
Okay? CDA references 66, you
Which
know,
is
which will often reference cities. So it's not,
Cities
it's
or
not the urban
towns.
town, but I think the idea that Lori is getting at is that we have times that we have very similar features
Right.
to perhaps villages and cities at times that could allow the CDA to have interplay with, you know, with the plan commission. And actually, one thing that I think might, you know, be a valuable interplay there would be, you know, in certain redevelopment opportunities or you know, or housing, you know, developments, there could be you know, a recommendation or almost joint effort by the CDA and the plan commission to make certain decisions. But there are references to other statutes that I believe the CDA does have some interplays with other commissions, not just the town board.
Right, and that's why I didn't mean to confuse it with the term urbans, towns, but it is starting to be used more just because of our size, we're small, but of our valuation. So when they're starting to look at that and consider it more.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned it, because I think as we went in 2021 to taking a look again at the CDA's mission and statement of purpose and vision. You know, as the CDA did that at that time, it was with the idea that this town was developing, right? And it was, you know, an urban town with urban features, right? And so I know when that list was slated out, it was with that idea, and it very well may be worth taking a look at that list, and that can be sent to you. I don't know that you've gotten a copy of that, but maybe it would be worth sending that to you so you can have that at a future meeting and take a look at that and see if those are still the things that you want, or maybe you want to add to it. So I'm glad you mentioned it, because I think that there's an opportunity there, you know, to recognize that you know, none of this is static. You know, some of the you know, the static pieces perhaps are the pieces that give certain authorities, which is the lead-in. But then that is my segue to B and C, right? Is none of this stuff is static. It doesn't just get adopted and put on the shelf. The idea here is that, you know, we keep you know, refreshing this, or at least looking to it and use it as our inspiration to go forward, and it can feed our agendas as well. So.
Which takes us just back briefly to chapter 20, where if you look at our powers, and then you look at some of our other committees, their powers and general duties are a little bit more well stated, where that as an advisory capacity to the town board, they state a little bit more than ours do. Ours is so based in statutes, it's not really clear to new members, so that's the circle. Yes, thank you. So that's why this discussion is very helpful.
And that's largely why, so that also is a really good point, because that was largely why, and some of the frustration that happened in 2020 when people were asking, well, you know, what are we supposed to do, right?
Yeah,
Like,
people,
it's-
people were asking that. I've been
Yeah,
doing this for a
well,
long
you know, I
it's
think
hard
there
to
was
explain.
a desire to at least better understand what we're doing and how, you know, the CDA functions and what projects it works on. And I think that's what then led to me being asked to present at that time, and really the slating out of some of the, you know, the goals and duties that the CDA had at that time. So I say that with really the introduction. Since you don't have that, I'm not going to, you know, spend a lot of time on it, other than to set the stage and say that what we'll do is we'll send that out to you all, so you have it. And at a future meeting, it would probably be very helpful to review that list. You'll see it's a bullet list of 11 items, and just see if those are still the items that you want to, you know, to have as it's worded at all, if you want to add to that list. But I think that it was a good idea to put this on here, because, you know, it helps to, you know, at least give you the background as to why some of these documents exist, because really, you know, some of this development of the goals matrix, as I recall, came after I think that was put on hold, and we went through this process, and then we then went and updated the goals matrix, and it's a solid foundational document, and it can be, you know, now reviewed and built on. It. The great news is you don't have to start from scratch on any of this stuff. But we'll get this stuff out to you, particularly as it relates to the mission, purpose, vision, and those, you know, actual function areas. And if there's any questions on it, I'm happy to answer it, you know, when you do review that. But I'll look forward to us, you know, kind of having a conversation about those as we progress.
Okay, that's a lot. So if we move on to B, and we're looking at discuss goals and establish short-term, long-term objectives, it might be difficult for the committee as it sits here today to dig into that, but that takes us to the matrix. Is that where you're going with it?
I think so. So
Yeah.
I should have said B. I meshed A and B together, because
Right.
B is really the document that I'll send to you. I think you need
Oh,
to
they
see
have
that.
it, actually.
They
We
have
have the matrix,
They have this
Oh,
but
they have this
not-
one too. Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh,
see.
I'm
Yep, we
sorry.
gave it to them as the last page, yep, at the
Okay.
last, yeah. But so they've got that now, so, and
That's
then we
great.
can use that to toward
which last page are we looking at? 'Cause,
at the back page of your packet.
CDA mission statement.
oh, here,
Oh,
okay.
it's in the matrix packet. That's why
Yes, yep,
Behind
sorry,
that.
Nick. Sorry, Nick,
Got
we
it
found it
mixed
last,
up.
last
It's
minute.
my fault. I did
No,
not.
don't worry about it.
I was looking in the
We
background.
pulled these from different sources, like it was,
Well, I
It was a
had
lot to
in
put
my
it
own
together.
notes. I had in my it in the the background information. Okay, well, so I'll still use this to set the stage then. So that page that you have is what I was referencing. If you see, what the CDA had done at that time was said, you know, reviewed kind of the background, just like I did with you all, and then said, well, let's look at our mission and purpose and vision. The purpose is what that list consists of. And so, I don't expect that we're going to have, you know, to say, well, we don't want to do this or do want to do these things now, but this is the list that I'm just talking about. This is the list that you should be looking at, and then we can revisit in the future and say, you know, these are the things that right now, this is the charge. This is what the CDA had said, this is what we are doing. And so, you know, it came inspired by conversations about where your authority is, you know, what your short and long-term goals are, but again, those aren't static. And you know, and the idea here is this helps inspire things like the goals matrix. And so, great, this was in there, so.
Some of these lend themselves to what we were talking about earlier, where the statute allows us to kind of work with and assist, or however you want to say it, with the Plan Commission in achieving some of the work that they do. So, because one of the bullet points says right there, foster business and community development consistent with the town's general planning documents, but that also includes blight development, maybe raising buildings that are sitting there that are no longer used, that haven't had roofs in decades, that sort of thing.
So when was this created? How long ago?
I believe it was 2021, although it was over a number of months. I want to say in my notes I had it as around 21.
It seems an awfully long list, including quite a few.
Some of them kind of
Things.
seem repetitive,
Yeah,
though.
I'm
I think
wondering-
they can be merged.
Yeah, I think it would be worthwhile to look at this list and see if we can't condense it a little bit, have a more focused list of what we do, because I'm thinking it's,
It's repetitive
We're-
in many
we're
ways.
not- when you try to do too many things, you really don't get
Right.
anything done well. So
Absolutely.
I'd like to more have a focus list and then maybe put it in more of a level of focus. The things that are A-list items first on the list. So if your A-list is to, I don't know, just pick one of these, improve branding, which I don't think it is, you know, that would be at the top. But I think this is too many things to try to focus on right now for this current committee. Maybe at the time this was made, you had 7 people and you had an established committee experience, but right now, I don't think we can tackle all of this. Does anyone have comments on that consideration?
Well, that's why I think these, as Nick was saying, if we condense it, they can fit into our matrix as goal 1, 2, 3, and that pushes them out like quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, which gives them the priority that you're speaking of.
Yeah, because I
That's why the
think,
goals matrix, yeah, they would work kind of hand in hand, maybe.
so that would be my task, if we come back, next time, look at this list and, maybe do your own kind of tweaking to it, what you think is a priority item or something that can be crossed off, or add something if that's the case, but let's look at this. We don't need to start from scratch and recreate it, because somebody spent a lot of time making it. We don't need to spend 3 months on a list, but let's try to do that, because I think my goal, if I'm gonna chair this committee, is that we start to do some things. And so we're
Yeah,
gonna
you and
try
I
to.
had discussed that once
Yeah.
before, and that was the goal of this next session.
So we're gonna try to set some priorities and actually get some things done, or at least attempt to get some things done within our ability and powers of what we can do. And then in that same vein, we do have some empty seats on this committee, and so I'll leave it to all the committee members, if you know someone that you think would be especially well-suited to be on this committee, to urge them to apply, because there's 2 open seats. Would be nice to have someone with some background in development, real estate, business, that sort of thing, to really help bring up our kind of levels of expertise and knowledge on the committee, so we can move forward to get some action done. So Is that okay with everyone? You can come back with just trying to refocus this list, because I think it's a great list. We just need to make it workable for who we are today. Is there any more you wanted to say about that?
Thank you.
So then are we moving on to the goals matrix? Which I remember, I think I had some work on this, maybe when I was first started. I think you had done 99% of the work, and I came on the committee and I said, oh, that's nice. So, but now we'll look at it again with the same idea in mind. So we're gonna go through this. Do you wanna kind of walk us through this list a little bit?
So this I'm a little less familiar with, although I remember that this was being developed, it was, if I recall, when we did that other list, it was the deliverable document that the CDA was going to create after, kind of setting their mission and purpose and vision. And so then, and any of the more longer-term members might remember this better, I think the matrix was developed with the idea that it would be reviewed annually. Is that, I hope I'm not misstating that, but I think the idea was, because I don't know that it was first created in 2023, but it's been updated and maybe adjusted.
It was created in 2022.
Oh, it makes sense, because you can see
And
the
this would-
time frames all are these quarter one, two,
And it was finalized, and this is the last version we have that was approved by the CDA.
Yeah, so I wasn't at all the working meetings as this was being developed or refined, but what it really did was set a number of goals. I think it starts with goals, right, to then work towards action steps, resources, timeframes. But it set in place 8 goals, and then certain action steps, and then status, right, or as it states here, success. So kind of where is it at? Rather than success, it'd probably be better to maybe consider changing that to maybe status, yeah, because some things could be, it would be really helpful to look at this as, so I wasn't involved with all the ongoing pieces of this, but as I looked at it, I even read some of these and I thought, well, what's the status? Has it been started? Is it kind of halfway through? Or is it totally unstarted? And
1 and 2 are done.
or do we even want to exit off? It's like,
Right.
this
So-
isn't a current goal.
Well, and so what I'm hearing is number 2 is done.
4 is
Well,
done.
number 1 was that brochure. So the brochure exists. Is the brochure used? Is it anything that needs revising? We have a brochure, I know. I haven't seen it in a long time, but money was spent designing it, and at one time it looked good, but where is that brochure, and has it generated any interest in someone coming to the
Nope,
town for
It's
business?
online.
At all?
It's
So,
only online.
so it's totally online, and does it need to be updated? Cause I hate when
Likely so.
something is online and
it's
you look at
outdated.
it and it's like, this is old and out of date.
It was outdated last year already.
Okay, so who would be the person to get it updated?
This committee.
Okay. Would someone like to agree to look at it online and bring back your recommendations on what needs to be done to it?
Are you talking about the economic profile brochure? Okay. I was just.
Do we have any volunteers?
I will.
Okay, yay, thank you. Okay, so if you don't know what that is, it sounds like Taylor can point you in the right direction where it is on the website. And just take a look at that and tell us what needs to be updated. Might be simple, might be dates, might be statistics. Anyway, okay, so we'll update that. Number 2, that study guide. We all read that study guide and reported back on it. To me, I think that can be eliminated.
We're at the point of actually deciding what we needed to do with the land.
Right, I
We
think.
did that with Sam, and now we're at the point of, we narrowed it down to 2 different RFPs that we really, really liked, and once we decided what we wanted to do with the land that's there in the Rome Town Center, which is what Sam had worked on. We were gonna bring him back and look at what type of housing we wanted and needed in there. And we were looking at those RFPs. He had given those materials to us that we had. So if we work with that,
So it looks like we can cross off number 2 because we have number 8, which is moving right on to, starting to develop the request for proposal.
right,
Does that make sense?
yep.
Okay, goodbye, number 2. Number 3, improve web presence regarding economic development. Okay, so that's gonna be part of this brochure that you're looking at. All the rest of it, the Rome Town Center map, I think it says visit Rome on there, I don't quite know why.
I don't know why
So-
either. I think we need to look at those resources. That would be part of the, or when did you wanna do, and town web is of no real help to us other than making the updates, but if you wanna leave it on there as a resource.
Improve web presence regarding economic development. So what exactly does that mean? And how are we gonna go about it? So our web presence is what right
Some
now?
of these have been done on the website, there is a start a business where we're
Right.
located in the resources, I think
That
that
we
was
have.
done by previous staff, the goal was for the end of 2023.
Okay.
Currently is on the website.
Do you think these things fall with, you, the town administrator in some regard? And maybe would zoning have anything to do with this, or?
Whatever you come up with for a brochure, we'll get it to where it needs to be on the site.
Okay, so could we take town web services off, visit Rome off, and we'll kinda leave this right now for the town administrator, and you can look at our web presence regarding economic development, and I know you're the town administrator, but report back to us what you could do to improve our web presence, or at least get it up to date.
Sure.
One other thing, I see on that action step, there's the Rome Town Center map. Just having, constantly looking at it.
It
I
needs
know that our
updating.
map definitely needs to be updated. We need to probably look at, and when I say we, not necessarily saying CDA, but just kind of talking that through because it's on the matrix. We will look at who developed that map, so we can get that updated with our current businesses. I think that would be really important. And if we don't, then we're gonna have to figure out, I know Sam had mentioned that, I only kind of say that because Sam had mentioned he didn't really have, that there was not an actual manipulating, file, so he had to kind of create it when he did that presentation.
I tried Sam down at the county, I've tried North Central Regional Planning, nobody has the original, maybe Jason can find it on one of our drives somewhere.
Okay, so
I'm
we'll,
not sure. I
we
think we
can,
have a staff member joining us that will be an expert in that area to help us get that map up to date.
I agree, I think.
If we can find the
I
file.
think we need to update it, and,
Yeah.
and we'll kind of work on that piece of it as well, just so we can get it up to date and then update it on the website, so.
And I know we crossed off visit Rome, but if you are looking for general maps of the entire area, they do frequently update the map for all their digital brochures and their handout brochures, so, I'm sure if you were to, or Jason, if you're working on this, if you were to contact Lisa, I'm sure she would share that with you if you wanna put a general vicinity map on there and not just the Rome Town Center. If it's something you want. Cause like Lori said, we're not just Rome Town Center, we're the whole
I
town.
think that's why Visit Rome was listed on there. 'Cause
Probably.
There are some other things on there that are overall maps that might have been why they were listed as part of the resource on there.
We just can't find that one Rome Town Center map, that was, that's the one we're struggling with.
So, I'm sure they'd help with that. Okay, where are we located, additional resources, where are we located? Additional resources.
So where we're located, it's on the website under Community Development Authority.
Oh, that's all
and
part of
it's-
that.
It's a link you can click on.
Okay,
And what does it have in that link?
I don't know, I'm opening it. It just says, contact us, Town of Rome, our hours, and a map, and then that's where you can, there's a contact us form as well.
is it up to date?
It looks like, it's got Wendy's email, and 8023 is the phone number, so.
Hey, that's a
up to
win.
date.
Okay, so that's all part of this, generally looking at that. And so we're asking time frame. When do you think you could, we'll go back to Heather, when do you think you could come back to us with your review on that?
I mean, by the next meeting.
By the next meeting, okay. So in July, and what about you, Jason, and when do you think
Well,
you could?
once Heather gets what, that brochure approved, then we can put it on there very timely, but I think like a lot of this was just done in first quarter of 2023, so when I looked at it, I know people have been inquiring, which you guys have seen in property over there, because the next step when they wanna put an offer comes to you, and I've referred numerous people to that website build out to learn about the Rome Town Center and, you know, the map shy of the brand new updates. It was fairly updated, the map that's present there, so certainly when the brochure is done, I can get it on there
Yeah, it does say it was updated in
once it's
twenty-three.
approved.
So you think that'd be by the end of quarter two? Would that be quarter two, 2024? I mean, that's
I
giving,
would think at the latest, I would think as soon as you get the brochure
yeah,
done.
probably
and stuff,
before that, but we're just trying to put some deadlines so that we've
latest
got
latest
accountability for getting stuff done here. Okay, next page. And the beautification initiative, that got kind of going and then it died. I was part of that, Lori was part of it. Wasn't somebody else? Huh? We were, it was
little bit I was.
it was kind of a just sort of committee. We did have the mural. We got that done. And so we were gonna do all of these things about businesses, outreach to businesses. You can kind of see the list that was created. I'm not gonna read it. So the idea was to have people focus on cleaning up maybe properties that weren't looking as good as they should. There was even some thought about helping companies that where their properties did not look good to ways to improve them. So a beautification initiative. Now, I don't know, do we want to continue with that right now? Or do we want to change maybe what the goals are of that?
I think that possibly this is the one that could morph into some of the plan commission blight cleanup, where we had talked about a possible letter.
Yeah.
That I was part of, and I recall we wanted to send out a letter, and then it morphed into our little beautification, and then you
Right,
kind of ran with, you know,
We
and
got
this
the-
could help us with our gateway enforcement cleanup, getting those things on track, so maybe we could kind of evolve this, but still keep some beautification. Do
Right.
you know where I'm,
no, yeah, I even had the thought, like, I don't know if this is, if we can even ask someone to do that, like with the storage buildings that seem to go on forever on Alpine, if you could ask them to plant some trees in the front of that.
Yeah, have a landscape buffer.
Right, some sort of, now I don't know if they would do it, if it's proper that we can ask them to do that, or I don't know if you went back and looked at their original request to build that, if they were maybe required to do that and it was never enforced.
That's what I was saying about morphing, but that also
So-
takes us back to the Weed Act thing with Connect Communities, and there's business initiatives where if we would have like a little task force that came up with a creative letter that says beautification contest. We have $5,000, which I know that the county is coming up with a sales tax initiative for blight or raising buildings down in the let's say, depressed areas of the county. If we could maybe tap into that, we could have an initiative where for $5,000 you paint your building. $5,000 will help you get a new sign. $5,000, you know, if we could tap that sales tax initiative that they're talking about at the county, we could use that and apply for it. We'd have to have a conversation with Cynthia and see where they're going with that. Was that something we could tap into? Or WEDC has microloans that we could tap into and say, well, we have a competition if you do this, or landscaping contest. Just, we kind of went down that path once before, and it ended up with the mural project, but that was the concept. So piggybacking on what Jackie's saying, with properties going back to their original site plan of operation, that might be the thing that needs them a shot in the arm too. I don't know, but.
So it looks like number 1 and 2 could be crossed off, and number 3 and 4 still tie into what you're describing. Does that seem to,
4 does, but, and 3, yeah, well,
because eventually you would have to have some outreach. are you,
Mostly four. I mean,
Yeah,
we're talking
mostly number four.
beautification and Plan Commission kind of joining forces with CDA on some things.
is it something you'd like, would be able to help us with, Laura? You seem, you have contacts in the, at least come back to us with some ideas how to move forward with it, or, I mean, I don't know where the $5,000 would come from, or these plans, or how that
I
would
could send an
look or
email
work,
to
or.
Cynthia and just see what she's.
Not that you have to go and plan a whole thing and make it happen, but just kind of some concrete ideas, what we could do there.
All right, I'll send an email down to Cynthia and then just get some information from WEDAC, because Erin does a bunch of those things and we get those emails, so,
Is the next meeting too soon to ask for that, or should we,
no, that's fine. You'll probably get it sooner than that.
okay. Number 5, actively participate in Connect Communities.
I don't know about the Rome Business Alliance, as a resource, but I think that for your members, they'll have to get signed up somehow.
All right, review, what exactly, Connect Communities Salesforce, isn't this what we were just talking about? Didn't they change that to be, is it even called Connect Communities?
It is, but it's
Okay.
not the Salesforce anymore.
All right, so number 1, we're gonna take off. Continue monthly reports on Connect Community Programs. Well, it's not
Well,
Connect,
I,
so,
It does
I
require
might
our
just say
membership
that
though.
you don't, I
Yeah.
don't know that you want to take number 1
Don't
off.
take it
only
off.
because I think
No.
that, isn't that kind of
oh,
what we
review
just-
those,
that's
review
what we just did
access.
At the beginning of the
Just
meeting.
take Salesforce site off of there.
Right, because so what we
Sorry,
wanna do
yeah.
is annually look at the membership of the CDA
And
Yes.
there's
and make sure
requirements.
you all have access to it, that's what I think this
You're
is.
correct, I jumped the gun. Continue monthly reports, okay.
And it requires annual access, so many accesses and so many things, steps that we have to maintain in order, so many things we have to do in order to maintain our membership, and there's a fee that we pay annually, I think either in April or May.
So number 6, I agree with you, share through Rome Business Alliance. I don't think they're especially active in this.
No.
Okay, so share meetings available, just how about that, share meetings available and educational training?
Where does it say that?
So if we just have share, take away through Rome Business Alliance and CDA, share meetings available.
Oh,
No, I think CDA meetings was the term, so you would just say share available education / training opportunities.
Right. Okay. And then, that's just ongoing. Look at us, just getting right through all this. Okay, number 6. Continue support of established businesses and business visits. Well, continue monthly business visits. Well, I don't think that's been happening.
well, the unfortunate thing is that, again, it just.
We had a plan, but
Yeah.
that has moved along.
It was nice when it did work.
Participate in Rome Business Alliance, complete at least one annual social networking and thank event. Oh, for area businesses, okay. What can we do with this one? All right. What would we do with these monthly business visits? What was that going to look like? We're gonna go as a CDA member and visit a business and do what?
If it was a newer business,
New
they cut a
businesses?
ribbon and welcome to town, or they gave us a tour.
Okay,
But it got very, very, I'll be honest, it got very, very hard, because if we would do it at 2:00, then CDA's at 3, then we had town board, it was a very long
oh,
afternoon.
that, with that business, okay, so,
And then a lot of times, I felt bad for I'll be honest, I felt bad for the business owners, because they were waiting for us, and for us to be there, and there'd only be 1 or 2 of us that would go. You know, so the business owner was there waiting to greet 7 people, and 2 of us would show up. Me, Jamie with the scissors, possibly Bill.
yeah, I was there when I could,
Well, no, I'm not saying that.
No,
in
no,
that-
I'm just saying
It was hard for people to get there at 2 in the afternoon.
what wasn't effective, but,
It would have been nice if it had worked out, but it was just too much early in the afternoon when businesses were still trying to function. So I don't know if the timing was right, or it was a nice idea. It's like a ribbon cutting, or thank you for having us, or showing you around the store. We did it for Market on Main when they first opened. Some of us got to shop early.
We did Gal's Corners, we went to,
Yeah.
we did the print
Tim's.
shop.
Rome Outdoors, got to meet the greeter Jack, the pup.
Well, do we want to just do that for new businesses?
I think that would be nice if we did it for new business.
So
Or if
continue,
somebody has a remodeling.
Yeah, I was going to say
If somebody
expanding
like
too.
expands or adds a new, and we think, and maybe we schedule it for some time other than our meeting day or when they're operating.
One
What do
way
you think? You're
to,
a new business. I mean, you wouldn't want us coming in right when 3 o'clock is opening and everybody
Right.
wants a
Beer.
desperate for their first beer in the end.
so how do we wanna word that? Is there a better way to word that? We're gonna continue new business in,
New and expanding or remodeled, like Nick said, some,
continue new and updated, or, I don't know.
Expanding. Or
'Cause you might just remodel without expanding.
and so I'm gonna use it as a plug to Lori's, point about, interaction between committees. Actually, as we get, like, for example, site plan of operation, for expanding businesses, that's one thing at the plan commission that we get, oftentimes before the expansion happens, that can then be reported and then after the expansion is
good
done.
idea, Nick.
So the plan commission can actually be a great interplay there, because
Yeah.
Okay.
oftentimes that's where the
You know
expanding
the new
businesses
business is doing, yeah,
come in, so.
good idea.
It's a better idea.
So what do we wanna say, coordinate, I'm at a loss for how to word this.
Maybe coordinate, business visits with new and expanded businesses, or coordinate
Coordinate
visits
with planning commission, visits to new and expanded, new and,
I like the idea of coordinating that with plan commission, as it relates to maybe the opportunity for plan commissioners also to do that, cause I think that would be very helpful in light of some of the recent conversations for some of the plan commission members to be exposed to that. So I love the idea, I'm not sure, I don't know that I have the answer for implementation, but I love the idea. So I think that would be a great opportunity.
well, it's just like,
Participate in visits to participate in new and existing business existing business operations and new and existing business operations.
new and revised business operations.
revised might be the right word, if we're talking about a business that would.
Like a site plan. And revised business operations, yeah, okay, there you go.
Cause I think this tour of Sand Valley is kind of a perfect example, that's coordinating, CDA,
Amended
planning
business
commission.
operations.
Yeah,
I
amended.
mean,
There you go.
I can just think of plan commission, I could probably say 3 of them off the top of my head that would fit this, right? That,
Cal,
that's
Sand
maybe not all
Valley.
exactly done yet or in process, but I would think that, connecting with them, visiting and seeing how that operation looks would be great.
We never did tour Lake Arrowhead, but I'm sure we've all met.
Well, but
So
good
do
point,
we-
I mean, that would have been a great opportunity.
I guess I should ask, who's actually making the changes to this document?
Our secretary,
Perfect,
which
okay.
takes us back to our bylaws,
Yeah, I
which
know.
we never,
We didn't get to
Which
the,
is why
I
I
have
have
that
that,
right
which
on
is-
my notes for next time these positions
gotta
aren't filled.
well,
We're
not
supposed to
fill
have a
them, but
treasurer appoint,
no,
not,
we
yeah.
don't have one for a reason.
Okay, it's in the bylaws to have one, so I have my notes to question
That's why
that.
it has to be updated, and that's why the
Yeah.
secretary is back on a town staff person, because
Okay.
we lost a very good one, and there's no one willing to, yeah. And we had one before that was a town staff person.
Okay, so
Okay.
you are hearing the language and that you're gonna do some magic
I
and,
have lots of
all right.
notes.
So there's not really a time frame. That's just gonna be ongoing, I guess, or as needed. All right, we've only got 2 to go, hang in there. Number 7, support entrepreneurship through Create Adams County and other partnerships to develop new business owners locally. I don't know that we've been involved in Create for quite a while.
I think this is,
I think our former town administrator had a strong interest in CREATE, am I accurate? And knew more about it, than perhaps we do.
I'm familiar with Create. In fact, Nick and I did, is that program coming up pretty soon?
That's usually quarter four, beginning of quarter four will be another opportunity.
Opportunity again. I don't know that, they are somewhat active down in Adams. And if you wanted to participate, I would recommend that we participate in Adams. We really, as a committee, didn't do that much with Create.
No.
Nick and I attended one that was actually a very good one put on up at Sugar Lake.
Shell
But-
Lake.
Shell Lake, that's it. Sugar Lake's the other way. But Synergy is really North Central Regional Planning in Adams County. They usually do seminars throughout the area and invite people. We really didn't do a lot with Create ourselves personally. It was something that Adams County is more involved in than this body.
Is there another way we could support entrepreneurship? I like the idea of it.
Somebody's
They go
got
through
time and
Adams County?
energy.
Yeah, I mean,
Have to be a mini step.
yeah,
I think that,
or do we just eliminate this? Are we not involved in supporting entrepreneurship? I mean, I think if someone wants to come here with a new business, I mean, like you did, Heather, I mean, I think the town supported you and helped you to establish a new business that you hadn't operated before. So, I mean, it just kind of goes hand in hand with a new business coming into town that we support you. I don't know if it needs to
Like
be
it's part of our mission statement
Part
already,
of-
like.
a goal to go and look for entrepreneurs. I don't know
No.
where we would find them.
well, actually, it's pretty
it-
organic, usually is what we
Yeah.
try to do, and in the past, and even before, we had administrators, even with, then with Mike Miller and the previous one. You know, this body, board members would actively get involved with the chambers, cause that's why they have chambers. They have resources to help new business owners. We would send them to Adams County Economic Development for loans, we'd send them to WEDAC for loans, you know, give you other resources. There's Connect Communities, there's Rural Industrial, there's Rural, USA, there's all these other sources. So for us to start getting involved in this, you start running out of people and time and you tell them this is what you gotta do, then you can't find committee members,
Right.
to be
So
quite honest.
I think for now could we eliminate this task for us?
If
This
it
goal?
is in the development resources, there's even Small Business Development Center at UW Stevens Point. There's
And
link
that's a
on-
So
excellent
many.
resource.
Yeah, there's so many.
And Patrick Gatterman, if he's still up there, he was very active in this community at one time, he was down in Adams. So, there's resources far more experienced and
Than
more
us.
knowledgeable than us.
And I think if someone approached this committee and wanted some suggestions or help, we certainly would give that to them, but I don't think we need to go looking for it. Okay,
We're just taking
and
out
then
seven.
there, yes, and then there was 7. Okay, so number 8. Here we go. Develop a request for proposal RFP for a housing development in specified, I don't know if we should use the word senior, in specified mixed multiple family zoned areas of Rome Town Center. I'm taking the word senior out of there. While continuing, no, we're not
There-
doing wastewater.
That's a reference to the sub-district, I think.
And I don't
in
even
Ro-
think we
Rome
should
Town
do
Yeah.
that.
Center.
I
What
should
should it
just
be
say
called?
And I think that,
Housing
yeah,
developments
I think that,
Period.
yeah, that doesn't allow for flexibility, and I don't know that
in
you
Rome
want.
Town Center, I would just say in Rome
Housing
Town.
development in Rome Town Center.
Yeah, because I don't know that right now we have what we need to do it in other areas of town because we don't have access to any other land but that we own. And Sam says we are pretty fortunate to have that. So
And
we
for
can
now,
do-
the wastewater is not happening unless it's brought up again sometime in the future. So, following goal number 2, use the study guide. Well, I think we kind of moved off of that, didn't we?
Yeah, we take that out.
Develop an RFP. All right, I think this is now number 1. We need to develop an RFP for potential housing development on specified sites within Rome Town Center using vision and zoning documents. What
Let's
are
say
those?
Using the design, it should be using
Vision?
the design, what is that, design,
Design plan?
yeah,
Which-
Taylor, you've got
Design
the
plan
Yeah,
standards.
the
design
catch,
plan.
catch there being that I think this is then the tie back to Sam's presentation, right?
Right.
Because you really wanna make sure that, that we keep building on that piece if we're going to, continue with that before you do this, because that'll feed the RFP documents, I would think. So I think maybe including an action step that references what we started, with Sam and got, a general presentation to, I think that would be the opportunity to tie Sam in, with this, because that, the updates that we might make there are going to guide your RFP most likely.
So how do you wanna word that for number one?
Yeah, so it's gonna be a new number one. I don't wanna mischaracterize it, but it's work with the consultant. What is it,
Sam.
well, not
Continue
not by
enga-
name,
how
I-
about continue engagement with consultant Sam,
planning consultant.
with planning consultant regarding,
Sam Schultz regarding housing development
And-
on sites within the Road Town Center. And leave out the document names, cause we might change them.
Right.
Then we'd have to keep changing
That's where I
we
was
would
going
have
with
to
that.
keep
Yeah,
changing
and-
those.
and development of RFP. I mean, I think we need to, that's,
Well, and develop the RFPs already at its number two.
okay,
I
so we'll
think-
leave number two. So
Yeah.
number one is we're gonna talk to him, get his help, so we can actually get going. And so,
I think you don't even need number three,
number,
because
include a time frame in RFP. Well, that would just come with the RFP. That would be included in there.
take out the River City Alliance.
So now, the time frame on that, I think can talk to him right away about this.
We take Adams County Economic Development out because they're on their own path.
So, yeah, I think those resources
Create
can,
Partnering,
can all be crossed off.
And it wouldn't be following completion anymore of the area study guide, but it would be somewhat depending on the timeline, for working with the consultant and any updates that would follow, right? So
But that's
the
your-
timeframe would be TBD, but it would be,
Almost ongoing, really.
or ongoing is
That's a good
another
word.
term. I like that.
ongoing.
It's ongoing, but I would like to see some sort of time frame that we talk to him and come back to this committee with what he has to say. So it's not ongoing.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, so if you're gonna put a time frame to that, that, I think I don't know that we need to wait very long to contact him and have him engaged, so.
Do we wanna see is that something, now we probably pay for his time, is that
Yes, we
true?
do.
Alright, so we wouldn't maybe necessarily wanna ask him to come back here, cause that's pretty expensive, his time and travel. Unless we feel it's important enough that he does sit down with us and suggest, not tell us, what we should do in his mind.
Maybe contact him and ask about next steps, because that's, I think he's probably, got some ideas for next steps after the presentation, and I think he gave us next steps, so.
He
I
did, we
think
So-
it's
just,
important
so-
for us to go through the document first and talk about it as a committee, and then say, what do we want, wouldn't it, or no,
No, that's a good point.
or no? Are we ready for the next steps, or?
Well, again, I just don't know, the engagement piece, I'm trying to think of how that, when I hear engagement with the consultant, I think, well, that's engaging the consultant, but maybe that's the first step is reviewing that document and understanding what we want, and then engaging. the
that's true. Are
consultant.
you
So, good point, Lori.
familiar with the document?
Oh,
There-
that's right, you weren't here.
Okay, so we need the document.
Yeah, we don't know the what.
Okay, so that was good. We need the document for everybody on the committee, is that something?
I have my original, but I didn't have an extra.
Did you write on it?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah, otherwise I probably.
Because it was
have
just
it.
passed out at the meeting and
It
then I
was.
wrote on
Well,
mine.
we have it from him
we did it.
originally.
Okay.
So
yeah.
if we could get the document and, put it in the mailboxes, that would be good, and then we can, so by the next meeting, can we agree that we'll review the document by the next meeting? And, I don't know, who's has been our point of contact with Sam? Is that you, Laura? Have you been really the one talking to him, or is it,
Myself and Nick and Jason.
do we want to, does someone want to talk to him and tell him what it is we're looking to do, and so he can kind of have it on his radar?
Jason and Nick, and eventually it'll probably be a Alexis, or Lexi.
So you can just let him know it's on our radar, we're moving forward with this once we. Okay. Do we have anything we wanna add to this list? That you think we
Is
should be
there gonna
doing?
Any resources for number 8 at all? Would it just be?
Well, I think it's Sam
Okay.
right now,
It's him, it's,
it's,
at least right now, it's the design plan, it's the
Design plan.
documents that Sam has created. And, yeah, I think those are maybe good ones to start with. That list is gonna build depending on where we go with.
yeah, what happens next? So is there anything you wanna add? Or do you wanna have on the agenda, opportunity to think about this, to possibly add anything to the matrix at the
I
next
think
meeting?
actually the one thing we could add on there is the town signage. I think maybe we have a box on there to, for town signage, or unless that's just an item we need to take care of once and.
As an actual matrix goal item, town signage?
Because we've had issues with signage in the past, and now as we move forward and we talk about directional signage, which we talked about in the Rome Town Center once before, our sign has been trademarked, and we're working on trademarking the Syracuse sign, which we've seen these signs come out before on shirts and things in the park. I've seen our Rome Town sign actually be used on items that are being sold, and we just need a clear, JPEG or PNG file in order to get that taken care of. And we're trying to track that down. Other signs we need to talk about are just, wayfinding signs, which is something that this committee had talked about before. And we had had conversations with MSA with the park. The Parks Committee is looking at a sign in the Rome Town Center just specifically for the band shell and the donors, which is off wherever they wanna put it within the band shell area, which is wonderful for those donors to be recognized. But as far as the wayfinding signage, MSA had proposed that all of our signs stay consistent with the signs that the town has trademarked. And so they had shared that with their initial report to the town, that stays with the logo that's been trademarked. So other signs that are for just like the dog park or something like that, or the transfer site, that would be fine. So maybe we wanna put that on there, or you wanna put that on there, I don't know.
We can add that as a, I don't know what the goal would be.
Maybe
So-
we just keep it as an agenda item and we wrap it up next time, or as an advisory committee to the town board.
We'll just put it as a next agenda item.
Okay, and it was on there carried over from when Cheryl was chair, and Cheryl's no longer with us just by virtue of the fact that Jackie and I were elected, and we continue our positions until.
Oh, yeah, we do
April.
have that on here, town signage. All right, so it's still, so we kinda jumped to number 11 here on
Yeah, and
our
I didn't
agenda.
mean to, that's why.
No,
that-
it's
I
fine,
wasn't
it all
doing
tied
that.
in with everything, cause we're trying to figure out if it belonged on a matrix or agenda. So for now, we won't make it a matrix, it'll be an agenda item. And then, so what are we going to do when we come back next time to talk about town signage? How are we gonna be ready to talk about this? What is there exactly that is, do you want town signage to kinda be your thing, or do you want, how do we wanna move forward on town signage?
Do we wanna continue any more discussions? We had talked at one time, I think you were involved at some point too, about wayfinding, when we
Yeah.
talked about the main sign out in front of the Rome Town Center, so I don't know if you wanna continue talking about wayfinding, and then that lends itself to the park signs, where they had started looking at other designs for different parks, so if we wanna keep that consistency going, so it matches what we have in the Rome Town Center.
So we need to talk to the Parks, committee and ask them where they're at with their signs,
Well,
because they were
what I'm
designing
hearing
the
is two
signs.
things.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm,
see,
So I'm hearing
I'm a
location
tad
and design.
confused.
Right,
Yeah.
So I
do
think
we
one-
want, basically, do we want consistency across the
So
town,
that's
is
the
the
design.
bottom line.
So one piece is figuring out where your wayfinding signs are going. Because I don't know that there's been, like, it'd be really nice if there was a map that was like, these are where our wayfinding signs are, right? But I don't know that,
We had a discussion last year,
Okay.
there was quite a bit last spring, we had examples.
so
There
do
was
you have a-
pricing done, but they were very basic and we kinda gave up on it, cause we went with the sign out on Alpine here that was gonna point into the park. So then we talked about wayfinding signs.
So part of that,
then
I
the
think, is
discussion came
still-
up at Parks, so
Yep.
then it kinda came back to CDA, and it was on our agenda with Cheryl, but now Cheryl's gone. So where's that recommendation going to come from? It has to go to Plan Commission and then the town board. But bottom line is, our signs are trademarked, and some consistency was recommended for the overall town. And that's why it was on here from before.
Right, which is the design piece.
Right.
But again,
There's two different wayfinding, do we wanna even put that on our matrix, and then town signage? So
And
I
what,
just had it on there as a carryover.
what exactly are we, cause now we're gonna have the new sign go up on Alpine that points, here's where the park is. What further wayfinding are we feeling that we need? Is there something else where people cannot find things? Cause I'm just trying to figure out what signs do we need that people aren't locating?
And I think we decided that we really didn't need them in the park, otherwise we'd have a bunch of signs with arrows going all over the place, so we kinda gave up on the wayfinding, so.
So yeah, that's where I'm kind of at, town signage, are we just making sure our signs are trademarked so that they can't show up on a t-shirt with something?
And then
it's
make
not
sure
our
that
signs that
they're
are
all
trademarked, it's
consistent.
our logo.
The logo, okay,
Our
so
logo
is that,
Our town logo is trademarked, and Derek Hughes' logo, I just need a file, a picture of it.
okay, so I'm like,
Then this carryover thing, we really don't have to deal with.
I'm trying to
Unless
figure out
for
what
some
we need to
reason
do.
Parks is looking for more signs.
Well, they
They
were
are looking
designing
for more
signs. They, I mean, they had, cause I know they had engaged Jillian and Visit Rome to help them design signs for the park, that it would, that each park, we have Walden, I guess, we have the Rome Town Center, we have, their park is there, would have a sign saying Walden Park, Town of Rome, and posted there. That's what they were designing.
Posted at the park or to get to the park?
I think at the park. So it sounds as though we could use an update from the Parks Committee as to where they're at with their signs. Should I ask them for that?
That would probably be helpful.
I think that would be very helpful, cause their advisory to the town board, and it sounds like something that needs to be discussed in greater detail.
I think I had some other note to ask the Parks Committee for something. Oh, I'm gonna also ask the Parks Committee, since there's no one on our committee that's on Parks Committee, to give us, like a monthly update that we can know what, for our report here when we talk about it. Since we don't have a member on this committee, on that committee. So then I'm gonna also ask them for an update on these signs. Where are they at with that? And can they share with us what they've done to date? Do we wanna know what they look like, et cetera? Or is that up to them when they wanna present those signs for approval? I think they were just kinda, I don't wanna say going renegade, but I think they were just like going ahead and thinking about making signs, so,
I think they kinda went renegade.
yeah.
They wanted signs for the dog park too.
And for the dog park,
Well, the dog park is fine, cause it's technically not a town park.
well, let's just ask them what they're doing without causing a kerfluffle, and, about where they're at with their signs, what they're thinking, where they're gonna go, what they look like. Because we're just looking at all those things. Okay. That's everything on our agenda. So next agenda items, it says policy for placement of decorative banners in the Rome Town Center. That will come up. I think there's gonna be a policy, possibly presented to us from our town administrator. Then I have this update on town signage. We'll continue that. We're going back to these bylaws. We need to appoint, the right word, go back to the vice chair, the secretary, define who's filling those roles. Is that
And we
correct?
haven't had a vice chair, and we've never had a vice chair as long as I've sat on this committee, which is a very long time. We haven't had Bill was our secretary for almost 10 years, and he kept very thorough records.
He
but we
was
went-
good at it.
He was very thorough, but, Greg was the secretary before, and our code says the zoning administrator. And it's hard if you don't have someone that's as thorough as a citizen member like Bill was to do something like that, and then him sending it back, and then him having to post, so it's easier to just keep it in-house. And so if we're gonna change code or change the bylaws, I think it's important that we remain consistent. And as long as I've sat in here, it was easier way back when they originally were founded. The person that was the director at the time, when they founded the CDA, could easily be the treasurer, cause she wasn't a town employee. So, but we don't have that big of a budget, that the budget comes to us. We look at the monies, we say what we might need, and then it goes back to the town board. So we really haven't filled those positions, so it might just be a matter of, and had there been time today, we could have maybe, but next time you could go over that and say that maybe you just don't want those positions in your bylaws anymore, and then change the town code.
So, okay, so we'll put next agenda item, review of bylaws and town code as pertaining to officers of CDA committee.
Yeah, and you may even wanna consider then about too, adding a little bit more meat to the town code as far as the discussion we had with responsibilities, like the Parks and Rec Committee or the Utilities Committee, as it applies to state stat, so that you can work more closely with the planning commission. Like we were talking about earlier, beef it up a little bit, cause like you
In
even
the
touched on
ordinance?
it, Nick. Yeah,
So the ordinance references statute, which.
right, but but in the town code, where you look at utilities committee, Heather touched on it. You read that as a new member, and that's the only place you look, you have no clear indication, you touched on it, of what you're supposed to do.
Right.
Where with parks you do, with utilities you do, with this, it was like, you can go out and read statute and go, huh?
So as I kind of touched on, but I didn't get into great detail, what's a bit unique with this
I understand.
is that this, like you're going to be doing, this committee is able to look at that list and modify that list. It's not codified.
Right.
And so the question is, how stamped do you want it, or do you want it to be able to be flexible and revisit this stuff?
Can it be something as simple as a statement that says is advisory body to the town board on such matters as economic development?
Kind of like taking the mission
Yeah.
statement and purpose and kind of putting that into the correct
Certainly we can.
way
Yeah,
for the
that
code.
would make sense. It just, I'm envisioning that bulleted list, but I think I was maybe going wrong with it.
Right.
If we're just building in one of those, the mission or vision, to this,
To explain basically what the authority is in the town code.
Yeah, like here for parks, it just simply says, advisory capacity to the town board undertakes planning, development, acquisition, expansion, quite honestly, that's pretty loaded for a parks committee. No offense there, Dan. But, I mean, it gives them a little bit more freedom than, but I'm just saying, so just an advisory capacity to the town, however you would word it appropriately within statute, but that, I don't know, with something so that people know when they look at code, other than directing them to statute, and some people go blurry-eyed based on what we discussed here. I don't know.
So I think, Taylor, we're also going to review it'll be the 2024 goals matrix, because we made changes to that. And we're going to also put back on the agenda the review of the CDA mission statement and purpose, because we're gonna come back looking at that and trying to make that more compact and doable.
We're gonna look at the document from Sam, yep, and then maybe even review the minutes again too, cause there's a good summary on there. Cause again, unfortunately, the recording, we don't have all of it, but some of it.
Is
Yeah,
there
I
any-
think the first 14 minutes are gone, so that's why I was glad I took notes.
Yeah. Is there anything I missed? Because we made some notes as we were going along that we want to follow up on at the next meeting.
well, if you're going to have the review of the mission and vision, I would just maybe suggest you can have it as an agenda item, but get through that if you're going to fold the mission into the ordinance.
Right.
So let's get that updated before,
Okay, mission and vision before ordinance, okay. So leave ordinance off for right
I
now?
mean, you don't necessarily have to leave it off, other than, you know, you can keep it on there just to keep it,
Okay,
you know, kind of an ongoing item, but I'll
okay,
be looking for an update to the mission and vision
before you can do,
before I fold it into the ordinance.
and we have
Do you
this,
think it's better to just leave the ordinance alone, or is it?
I like the
If you're
idea
asking,
of adding
yeah,
that.
if you're asking for my opinion, I think a general reference, I think I misunderstood it, and if it was my understanding, you know, that we were gonna put the list or some more specific duties,
Oh.
I wouldn't recommend that,
no,
because
no,
I think
no.
this group needs to be able to be flexible.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't have a problem with folding whatever the mission that we settle
Right.
on
Like the
is, if nothing
overarching.
else, think of it like this. That mission, if you're folding it into the ordinance, remember that the ordinance is, that goes to the board, that's the board approving that. If anything, it gives a, you know, kind of affirmation from the board to the mission that comes from this body. So we could look at it that way, and I think that makes a lot of sense. So,
Thank you for the clarification.
okay, so we've got enough work for us for the next time? Anything else?
First Thursday of the month is July 4th.
It
So-
is, that's why I was gonna
I
ask,
know
when are
that,
we
that's,
having their meeting?
this usually ties into the town board meeting night, so I don't know that that's been decided yet, what we're gonna do about that. Has there been thought, chairperson, about when to
No,
have
there
our
was
first
some-
July meeting?
Some discussion, just very briefly at our last meeting, and we hadn't really touched on anything. Dan, do you recall anything perhaps? Did we say possibly that Tuesday? Jason, do you? Nick? Calling you all out. Does anybody?
I don't
have
remember
memory
talking
that
about
good?
the date at
We
all.
talked about the
looking
date,
down
you just
because I
commented
can't-
that it was the fourth.
Fourth,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
how does Tuesday that week look for anybody if we bumped it back to Tuesday?
Would be fine with me,
Jason, does that work for
Second.
you?
Second?
right, this Tuesday the 2nd?
Yeah, does that work for you?
It does for
All
me.
right.
All right, so let's, for now, it's going to be July 2nd at the same time, 3 o'clock.
Can we make it tentative just in case
Yeah.
somebody says, oh, it is the holiday and we just all really need a healthy break? The other option
It'll be
that
a town,
Taylor and I had,
town board, if it turns out to be something else, then it's going to be something else, so.
if it's the worst case scenario, I mean, what about, we had said something about if we had a board meeting on the 11th and then one on the 18th in tandem, 2 weeks in a row.
I think
Is
this
that-
is easier to keep it the
All right,
same. Let's,
okay.
hopefully the other board members will be fine with it. I know
All
it
right.
is also a travel week often for people, but
That would be the.
That's
Well,
the only thing, the travel
we
week
just
thing.
have to make sure we have a quorum. We've
You
got
want me to
two,
reach out to Megan to see if she's available on that day?
you can, sure. It's probably gonna be more contingent on, yeah, Megan, and then, so, because right now, if the four of us are available, we'll have a quorum, and if she can be there, that would be fantastic. And then, hopefully, the town board will be available. Right now, we have 3 in the room that say they are, so we have a quorum, so. Not that we don't care about the others, but we gotta get things done, so. All right, I think we've covered everything. Thanks for nominating me, Colleen, and having faith in me to lead the group. I hope we can get some things done, and we'll move forward to the next meeting. So I think meeting adjourned.
Yep.